And they decided now the road had improved enough that came down the peninsula. Before then, it was just a rutty dirt road. And they decided at that point that they would stop the McSeada fleet. So we have this dock there, and the members, and this is long before my time, but we had a bunch of boaters there, and they all knew what to do with their boats. And here was a dock that was no longer used by the county with one float on it. And so they went around and dug up and found a bunch of other floats and started the marina. And they tied up at the marina, and that developed into, you know, you join the club and you get, well, I asked one of them, the original ones, and he said, well, what did you pay for mortgage? And his comment, well, it ran about, I think it was $30 or $40. I said, well, that's not bad, $30, $40 a month. He said, no, that's a year. I said, well, that's really pretty good. And that's kind of the way the club ran. When I got to be president, the other thing, you know, well, we have a budget. Well, yeah, we do, but we usually check with the secretary to make sure there's money in the bank to know that if we're solvent. Because up to that point, any time that you wanted to raise the rates at the marina, which was enough of the majority of the membership were there for their boats, it never went anywhere. You never got a dime raise out of anybody. I mean, we did rent out the A-frame on occasion, weddings and things like this, but there was no real profit center. We did take boat rentals for moorings, just weekend boaters, but it really wasn't a lot. I think in those days we did have a fund to support the high school students graduating from the Key Peninsula.
Not yet.
And it was only like $200-300 that we gave as a
So it started very small then.
Started very small. It was just barely there, and this sort of thing happened. We improved a little bit over the years until the change point came. Change point came when the county, with their pier sticking out there, they owned the county, they owned the road down to it. We just started at the dock was what we attached to it, and we had a long-term lease with them for use of it. They decided that there was a liability there that they didn't want. So they decided this dock is unsafe. This dock has had cars running on it for years. It was built of timbers and piling that will last forever. But they didn't want the liability, so they said, we're closing it. And at that point, then well, what do we do? Well, we're going to end up with floats and no way to get to them. And we were fortunate to have at that time a president that who was,
I can't remember. Oh, Jeff Bailey.
Jeff Bailey.
Yes.
And the timing was perfect. Jeff looked at the problems, figured out what it would take to make it viable, and he's basically the one that set up what we have now, what you see now. And of course, when this happened, we had to go to the membership and say, guys, this free moorage and it's been great, it's worked up to now, but now we have to raise real money to make this happen. And that's the big change, where we turned into more of an organization that was developing than we ever did before.
So